I was trying to be Big Basket before I was Big Basket. And that I think has been a very strong learning for me. But it kind of took me back to the drawing board because life as I knew it had completely changed. Earlier, I was a very milestone kind of a person.
Hello, everyone. So, if you are a business owner or planning to start your own business, this is the podcast for you. This is a story about an entrepreneur. And when you think about an entrepreneur, you must be thinking about somebody who has got a business suit on, somebody who's driving a very, very fancy car, living in a posh society. But think about it again. That's not the real reality. 90% of the startups fail. And what happens to the startup after that? What happens to the entrepreneur, the founder of that startup after that? Have you ever thought about that? So today I'm going to give you a podcast where a woman entrepreneur who had it really tough, had all of it broken down and then started from the scratch. I will be meeting with Shweta Thakur, founder of Wildermart, who will be talking about her story about broke but not broken. Hi, Shweta. First of
Hi.
all, amazing energy you have got. I just want to know how you positively keep so much of energy vibing through you.
Well, it's a choice. It's a choice. Have you watched Takeshi's Castle?
Yeah,
That show? Yeah.
Takeshi's
So
Castle.
I feel life is like Takeshi's Castle. Sometimes, the ground under your feet will go. Sometimes you'll see one big hammer coming, hitting you. Pani either say, things will keep happening.
Correct.
And you have a choice then to either keep the sound on or sound off. Because the difference is that Javed Jaffrey's, narration over there. So if you keep the sound on, you can actually laugh through it, have fun, and enjoy it like while you're going through it. Because that shit is going to happen anyway. So you might as well have fun with it. So that's the choice that I make.
Actually, you're absolutely right. And I know that you live your life also like you are on Takeshi's Castle contestant. And I've seen you believing in your gut and you have always taken very instant decisions. Where do you get this power of taking instant decisions?
I think more than power, it's belief, right? I have a blind belief in the universe and the power of the universe, actually. That I feel everything is scripted. It is supposed to happen the way it is supposed to happen. And you've been given this illusion of choice, where you think you're making some major decisions. Aaj cornflakes khao ya muesli khao. But aisa kuch aap decision nahi le rahe ho. Everything is set already. So I don't spend too much time overthinking at all because I'm like, no matter what I decide is going to turn out the way it is supposed to turn out. So might as well get about it quickly and not waste time on that. And sometimes if stuff doesn't go your way, that's absolutely fine because it's again part of that process and journey, right? So I had attended a martial arts class where I had learned about Lao Tzu philosophy.
Wow.
And one part of that philosophy was you have to learn to accept whatever is like, and only once you accept can you move forward, because till the time you're fighting it, it's not going to change. So it's fine whatever turns out, as long as you keep believing and moving forward. Like, what else is there to do?
That's amazing thought. You keep believing and you
Yes.
keep doing. That's
Yes.
what made you believe in graffiti. That's where you started it from.
Well, graffiti was very random. Like I said, most of my decision making in my life is like, okay, what's the worst that can happen?
Correct.
If nobody died in the process or nobody is dying in the process, kar lo, take your chances, So everything has happened like that. So when it was a summer, I think sometime a friend of mine from Excel called and said, Thakur, digital agency start karna hai kya? I'm like, what is digital agency? And this is in 2011. So he said, nahi, why Facebook, we'll do something. I'm like, cool, theek hai, no problem. And I was like, anyway, getting bored with the bank job. And this was more towards the marketing side. I said, cool, karte hain. What's there to lose again? Like, there was very low risk. I didn't have dependents. So I said, cool, start karte hain.
And that's how graffiti started.
That's how
Would you
graffiti
like to
started.
talk more about it, what graffiti was and how you actually spent a lot of your time of your life on that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I spent 10 years of my life on that. And it was 10 very, I will say, formative years. Although it happened at a very, time of your career where you think, acha, B school kar liya, banking job start kar liya. So you're set in your ways. But it kind of took me back to the drawing board because life as I knew it had completely changed. Earlier, I was a very milestone kind of a person. College jayenge, shaadi karenge, bachcha hoga, all that stuff has to happen, career hoga, whatever. When this happened, it completely broke down. So then I was like hanging around with people I had never hung around with, learning skills, and I never thought I would learn. And it was very enjoyable. It was such a change. I learned so much. I went through such crazy experiences. And at the end of the day, it was my first entrepreneurial journey. And
That's right.
somewhere, I don't know, because it never seemed too big in my life. Like the way I had taken my decision on the first day, करके देखते हैं क्या होगा sort of a thing. That's how my entire 10 years were. Like, it's cool. If it works out, doesn't work out, we'll see how it happens. But it was a very enriching experience. Like, I think my life changed because of that. And the person I am changed because of that.
Lot of
So,
learning there.
lot of learning, lot of personal journeys, lot of friendships, lot of completely different way of thinking. You know, your POV changes when you are in a B school and you're set in a certain way. You know, you're thinking about life in a completely different way. And then here are these 20-year-olds listening to some music you've never heard, and your life is completely changing. You're like, ये music तो मुझे भी पसंद है. You know, why am I something from the rock generation and I'm stuck? So everything from music to art to science, everything changed for me. Yeah. And the kind of businesses I worked with, the kind of clients I worked with, because I'd never done this before. I had not come from an agency background. So there was obviously a sense of, will I be able to do it? But confidence ka to kami nahi hai. So I'm like, if not, wing it. Yeah. So fake it till you make it. So I was for a large part faking it. I would go into meetings and talk about CPC, CAC, like I knew the full form. Meeting ke baad, you would come out and try and understand what those words were. And I still faked that part of it. In one recent investor meeting also, they said, what is ICP? And I'm like, I'll give you the ICP. Meeting gets over, I'm Googling what that is. It's okay. That's what you do. So yeah, very enriching 10 years of my life.
That's amazing. And I
Yeah.
love that energy of you, that you're always learning new
Yeah.
things. And what made you move from that 10-year-old entrepreneurial journey to suddenly move to Wildermart? How did Wildermart happen?
पागलपन बोलो और क्या? Seriously, if I knew what was coming my way, I would have probably changed my decision making process at that stage. But yeah, so again, what had happened was, now I'm 10 years vegan in this December. So in 2013 December, I went vegan. And I was a heavy meat eater that time, and like the type of person who goes to a restaurant and says, "Arey, vegetarian kaun order karega restaurant mein," type of thing. So when I went vegan overnight, because I was trying to cut down my climate footprint, and a friend said, "Look at your food print," and I watched Cowspiracy, and one night, next morning, I was vegan. So now I had like eliminated my entire food plate, and I had to start from scratch again. So when I started doing that, I read up a lot about food, and I realized that a lot of things were broken about food. And that's when I decided that no, it has to, I need to be able to fix this, because this is something too basic that was going wrong. And that's where that thought started coming in my head. And then about in 2017, I started the first vegan / conscious market in Bangalore. It was called Wilderfest. And that I ran for 2-3 years, took it to Delhi, took it to Chennai. But then I was like, nahi, say, I will not be able to do something more. And with the agency also, by then, a little bit of fatigue was setting in, because my mind needs constant stimulation. Like, agar if I start getting bored in something, I will jump from there. So that's what happened, I think. And again, universe sent the answer in the form of COVID. Like, so there was a natural break that happened. The business slowed down on the agency side. And I said, okay, this has again been sent my way, and I will have to take my chance and say yes to that. So I did take my chance, and that was a crazy chance to take.
Yeah, but you actually got a chance to raise funds for Wildermart. You were once upon a time competing with biggies like Big Basket and all that. And then there was a journey, there was a pivot that you took. Would you like to talk about that as well?
Yeah. And minor correction, I was not competing. I was just a wannabe Big Basket. I was not competing. I was benchmarking against them. But if out of the 2 years, if my one single line takeaway of my mistakes of 2 years would be that I was trying to be Big Basket before I was Big Basket. And that, I think, has been a very strong learning for me. So when I started Wildermart, I started with a vision of bringing whole foods to India, like creating a space like Whole Foods, because that was my entire game. Like I was like, if you want to change something in the food space, the economics of food has to change. And if you have to change
Right.
the economics, you need to have, are there buyers who will buy different kind of things? Are there makers and sellers who will sell? And if they are, then I'll be the marketplace in between. So that's how the idea had started. But when we started, I was a single founder, and I didn't anticipate what I was getting into. I thought this marka type, B2B business I've run for 10 years, this will also be one cakewalk that I could do after banking. Why can't I do this? B2C businesses are very tough. I, in fact, attended a panel yesterday or day before where they said you need $50 million and 8 years to at least even build a consumer business in
Wow.
India. So if I had attended that 2 years back, I would have changed my mind. But yeah, so in between the marketing and operations of this business, I was pissoed. Like I was dealing on a daily basis. Oh, dhania wilt ho gaya, ice cream melt ho gaya. Between customer complaints, 1,000 rupees ka CAC, I was going like crazy. But we did manage to raise funds, and these are early believers, a lot of friends, family, and early investors who believed in the vision of what I was building. And I got really lucky with my investors. I mean, a lot of people have mixed emotions about it. I love my investors, and they've been nothing but kind and supportive. So they came on board. Of course, with my limited idea of stuff, I made my mistakes with the kind of money that I had raised. I spent it. And before you know, the money is gone because you're doing the standard, discount though, customer acquire karo kind of a run. And come January this year, but I was like, shit, there's no money in the account. Now, what do I do? And there's no capital in the market. And I had like one white elephant staring at me. So I said, this is not going to happen. Now I have to go back and like tuck my tail in between my legs and say, nahi ho raha, which I did. I went to the investors and I said, nahi ho raha. And to my surprise, they were like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, like really,
Wow.
because I was feeling very guilty. It's the first time in my life I had taken somebody else's money and I was building something, and not like small amount of money, a significant amount of money. And I was like, okay, what will they say? And when they said nothing, there was a weight that lifted off me, and I felt a sense of freedom that, okay, cool, now I still have a little money in my account and there's clearly nothing to lose anymore. Let's start again. And so the last 6 months between March to October, we kind of reconstructed the whole thing. I went back to my numbers. I went back to the customers, trying to understand what is it that we can really solve. Because one thing I'm sure that this is my purpose. Solving for food is what my life is going to be about. So why miss that chance if I can? I have a 2 years very solid learning. So we did that, and that's how we've pivoted and landed up and launched with a new version of Wildermart, which is an AI-powered healthy food store. And it's basically health tech married into e-commerce now.
Right.
Because I thought that the platform itself, like as a marketplace, if you don't add value to a customer's life, then there's no reason for you to exist. And which is what was happening. Customers would come to us and go back to a big basket, or any of, I'm using big basket very for the entire genre of businesses. But so then I thought, okay, let's build this. And now I'm very confident. Like for 1.5 months, the people I've spoken to, customers, investors, it feels like I genuinely have something solid in my hand, and I'm fairly committed and recharged to kind of build it. And I think my team has been very supportive. My investors have been very supportive. My team did not give up, and they didn't know what they were. Mera to at least vision hai. They had no idea what they were following me for, and they kept following. And they said, "ठीक है, करेंगे whatever you're saying." And then the investors have been kind enough to kind of put in some more money right now to let us test this MVP. So very, very grateful for all this.
Well, you say it very casually, but I understand that B2C business is a tough terrain to work on.
खून के
And
आंसू.
खून के आंसू रोने पड़ते हैं लोगों को, और बिल्कुल आप बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हो. But what actually motivated me to bring you here and talk about your story was when you said that it is not an entrepreneurial journey, but actually a spiritual journey for me.
Yeah.
What made you believe in this completely?
So, I mean, when I went vegan 10 years back, obviously you've never thought about food before. Like you just work on autopilot. Bachpan se khana khila rahe log, jo bhi khila rahe hain, you keep eating and you grow up like that. So when you put a pause on that, and when you uncondition yourself on something as basic as food, which is something was not even something you consciously learned, right? It was just happening and you were just going with it. So when something that basic changes, it completely shifted something for me. Because when I read that, your food impacts whether a woman in Africa is walking kilometers for carrying water because she doesn't get water in her land, whether there is world hunger, the people are dying of diseases that, like who had heart attacks in 30s.
How does this connect? Can you please explain to the listeners little more in detail that
Okay.
how their food is impacting people in Africa?
Right. So, plant-based living and plant-based eating is a choice because when you have animal agriculture, when I say animal agriculture, either for dairy or for meat or both, when animals are raised for that, you need a lot of land.
Correct.
First thing, so you basically need a lot of resources to feed these animals. The way animal agriculture is that it is very resource intensive because there's an animal eating grass poos and then you're eating the animal, so it's a food chain that we have created, but there's nothing natural about this. Earlier when we were in like hunter gatherer type thing, even then actually a large part of our food was coming from gathering because hunting was not very predictable. So sometimes you would get a hunt, sometimes you would not get a hunt, so people dependent on berries, and it is very incidental that women were the one who would be plucking berries and men were the one hunting. So women were always foraging and keeping food for storage ki acha wahan khana nahi mila to mere paas abhi bhi rahega for everybody. But the way the food system has evolved is that now you need a lot of land firstly for these animals to be grazed in and raised in, right? And how does that land come? We have limited amount of land, so that land right now comes from rainforest. There is every second a football field worth of rainforest is depleted for creating land for grazing. After that, what happens is even the food that is grown, a large part of the agricultural land today is for soy and corn, which is food for animals, not food for humans. Right. So as a result, large parts of Africa, for example, where the food agriculture happens, that food is actually taken as feed for. So वहाँ पे बच्चा रो रहा है, बच्चे के पास खाना नहीं है, but that's not the point because that feed is going to another continent as food for cows. So so therefore there is a lot of water used. There's a lot of greenhouse emissions that happen. There's a lot of waste generated in the process, which then goes back into the ocean, and then oceans die. So it's a very interconnected, and I mean, that's a podcast in itself, actually, if I have to talk about it. Yeah. But there is a large impact of your food. So that is just the environmental impact. Then there is the health impact. Like if you're seeing the lifestyle diseases, everybody in 20s, 30s have diabetes. The case of juvenile diabetes right now, where is it coming from? Heart attacks, cardiovascular, cancer, all of these diseases were not so common, 30, 40 years back. So what has changed? The way we've been eating has changed drastically. And that is resulting in all of this. And then there is, of course, the food supply chain, where who are the humans who are actually dealing with all of these processes? What happens to them? What happens to the people who live around these lands where the water leaches and the soil is not fertile anymore and things like that? So people get affected in the process. Animals get affected in the process. But we as privileged people who see milk in a carton and meat in a cellophane packed pink color thing, meat is actually not even pink color when it is actually cut because that animal is in a huge amount of distress. So there's a lot of distress hormones that go into the body. So the discoloration of the flesh happens, but you pump it in with this pink color thing and that's how you eat. So yeah, I mean, without grossing you out, I can see your face getting all
No,
worried.
Actually, I'm thinking about that, what kind of food I am eating and what kind of lifestyle I am leading. And I'm sure the listeners would also be thinking about that right now. We really need to think about every single step that we are taking, every single food that is going in our mouth.
Correct.
Very clearly.
Yeah.
That's amazing to know. So from that, now what do you envision Wildermart to be like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now?
So this is now my purpose in life, right? Like you have a limited amount of time in the world, right? So and what do you do with that time? If for me it is important what I do with it. Like I can also sit and chill and watch Netflix and like spend my time and go for holidays and stuff like that. But somewhere that doesn't give me satisfaction. I want to do something more productive, what I view as productive. And this to me is productive. That if I can solve or not solve, solving is bahut dur ka baat. Like if I can be a part of that solution where I can help fix this broken food system in any given way, that is what will keep me going. And that's actually what keeps me going, because spiritually that is what has happened. I have connected that cow ka pain to that woman in Africa, to the hungry child, and all of that universe. When I say I believe in the universe, this entire connection helped, because now your consciousness is connected to all of these things, to every living being and every sentient being that you meet. So yeah, so I hope to see Wildermart become, like, business wise, I want to see it like an Airbnb, go into health forward markets where there are customers and there are suppliers, and you plug in this platform in between, which makes it easy to access this stuff. But in terms of vision, what I want to see is less less pain in this food system,
Wow.
more happiness to the people, to the animals, and to the people who are consuming, so that they stay healthy. You shouldn't be having diabetes at the age of 30 and taking insulin and living like that. That's not the quality of life. And you can't say, "Main gulab jamun kha raha hu, insulin bhi dal raha hu, and that's great. I'm enjoying my life." YOLO. That is not YOLO. YOLO has to be a happier YOLO. You live happily once, not just live. So
This is
yeah.
what I love about you. When you meet Shweta, you will see a very chirpy, happy, energetic girl. And then once you start your conversation with us, and you realize that this is the girl who's going to actually change the world.
Uima.
And you are the one who has that vision for that
Wow.
very clearly.
Thank you so much.
So what is more to it? What is apart from what we see as a cover of Shweta Thakur?
Oh my
What is
God.
more to
There
her?
is so much, but it's mostly a lot of cover. Yes, so I'm I'm the kind of person who is very good reflector. So I listen very actively. I get very engaged in conversations, and to my surprise, I have found that most people, when they find somebody who listens, then they can talk a lot. So my job in any interaction gets reduced. I will just actively listen, correspondingly ask questions. Right now, you are asking questions, so your roles are reversed. But otherwise, I do this. So nobody ever finds out about me because nobody's really asking. They get so involved about talking about themselves. Nobody asks about me. So I'm like, cool, bach gaye. Another person that I dodged, that I didn't have to tell anything about my life. Because the problem is that my life is a lot of depth, and then therefore, if you start talking about it, it's not like very, chai pe charcha kind of a conversation.
not. It
You
is
need to be prepared for it. You need to be mentally wired for that kind of
Correct.
stuff. And so, yeah. So there's a lot that I do on the side. Of course, as a founder now, I can't do, not as a founder, as B2C founder now. I don't have time to do much of the things, but I used to love painting. I still do. I love painting. I am very much into performing arts and creative arts and stuff like that. So if I get time, yes, I would love to do all of that.
Wow. From
Yeah, I love
saving the
dancing.
world to dancing, painting, and performing arts.
Full package.
So there's a full package of Shweta Thakur, but we haven't stopped our podcast yet. There is a wonderful rapid fire round that I need to play with you. So be ready for it. Karan, coffee with This is Coffee with Iti.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So the first question starts now. Corporate life or entrepreneurship?
Entrepreneurship, any day.
Any day entrepreneurship. My type of weekends would be like a date with a special friend, party with girls gang, quiet evening at home.
Like एक weekend पे कर लेते. Give me a fourth option, I'll do one also. Because I'm literally all of those people, and I think everybody is. You have your moods and your spaces that you want to. One day you want to go for a wild party, one day you just want to sit at home.
Yes.
So yeah, everything. I love it.
Amazing. One thing I would change from my past.
I have a blog. It's called Je ne regrette rien. It's an Edith Piaf song, and it means I don't regret anything. So there's nothing I would like to change, because including the 2 years mistake that I have done, because I would not land up here had I not gone through those mistakes. So it is a butterfly effect. You take off one wing flap and you will not be where you are. So nothing
I want
at
to
all.
high five on that, because few days back there was a podcast where I was the guest and somebody asked me same question. I exactly gave the same answer. I'm not going to change anything from my past. Sisters. Okay. My type of guy would be, now guy listeners, please listen to this.
Oh yeah. Yeah, now earlier if you'd asked me, I would have said things like tall, funny, things like that. Abhi wo sab nahi. Abhi the most important thing is emotionally available, because you need a man or a partner rather who can like kind of be with you, because when you come in an adult space of a relationship. Recently I was watching another video where love is not enough. Love is great. You can be in love with every man I've been with. I'm still in love with them, because your love does not go away.
Correct.
It's just that your relationships don't work out the way they are, because a relationship asks for a lot more stuff. So today when I answer such a question, I'm looking at it from a relationship point of view, because बार में जाके fun करके बात करके वो तो किसी से भी बात कर लेंगे यार. That's not the problem. So yeah, somebody who's emotionally available, respectful, very basic stuff, but like a companion.
That's what
that
I
can
think
last.
most of the women want. This is becoming like what women want podcast.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What kind of movies do you like?
Oh, I like really dumb shit chick flick
Chick flick.
movies. Yeah, I love it because I mean my brain is already on such high overdrive through the day that I want to like cut out and don't give it any more thinking and slack and stuff. And then on holidays, if I call Sunday my holiday, which I do try and call, that day I'll watch some heavy movie like, Railway Men and some documentary and stuff like that where I allow my mind a little bit of intensity, but otherwise I like to keep it light. I'm like entertainment hero.
You also said that once a chick flick gave you an idea. Would you like to talk about that also?
Oh
to the
yeah.
listeners?
I wish I could remember which one it was. It was a place where this lady who was slightly unhealthy and she was again YOLOing her life away. And her brother was a very fitness freak kind of a person. And she was like, "Nah, I'm not coming to the gym and stuff," till she got a heart attack. And then she like, "Oh my God, now I need to get into fitness." And the brother asked, "Oh, now you suddenly want to get fit and stuff and healthy?" And she's like, "Yeah." And this quote unquote line stuck with me because this became my biggest customer insight was that nobody wants to get healthy. They have to get healthy. And that for me was like, aha. So all this while I'm thinking, acha, wo motivation se khud se aa jayega. But no, that's not the case. People get healthy because they're scared of being unhealthy, scared of dying, scared of that heart attack. And that is a good enough motivation. It's a negative motivation, I agree. And in advertising, I don't like. I've never, gone by the negative advertising wala philosophy. But it is something. If fear is what is driving you, that's also fine. But as long as you can stay healthy and be happy in that moment and keep away from that fear longer.
You're a girl with lot of ethics and lot of right emotions is what I would say.
Thank
So
you.
one key at the end, one key learning that you would like your listeners to take away from you, from your life.
Believe in the universe. Let stuff happen. You take your chances. And as long as nobody is dying in the process or you're not the one killing somebody in that process, good for you. And that killing involves animals, huh? In my case. But yeah, so as long as that's not happening, take your chances because, YOLO, one life. So you have to. And YOLO does not mean just debauchery and partying and stuff. That's the part people have misunderstood.
Correct.
YOLO means experiencing life in its fullest. And there is so many aspects of that life that you need to experience. So yeah, take your chances. Say yes to things that come your way. What's the worst that will happen?
That's amazing. She will fly again and she doesn't even need a cape for doing that. Shweta Thakur, founder of Wildermart, she is the one who will have her new blueprints of the new startup strategies always ready with her.